What is up, my good people? It's your boy, the Man Penguin here. In today's video, I wanted to give a pretty brief tutorial on the basics of getting into Hearts of Iron 4 for you new players. HOI4 is a lot. I mean, it's a grand strategy game, so there can be a bit of a learning curve, and there's just a lot to unpack. The goal in this video is just to kind of give you a surface level bit of knowledge to help it make it easier for you to get into the game. DLC or no DLC. This isn't something I see discussed all that much in tutorial videos, so I just really wanted to touch on it here. HOI4's DLC is a crucial piece to enjoying and playing the game for an experienced player. It adds a ton of depth and a lot of different little things that you have to manage, and make sure to keep your nation running. But for a new player, the DLC is simply piling on more and more information and things to manage that make getting into and learning the basics of the game much more difficult. So for the new players out there, I recommend not using DLC or getting the DLC until you feel confident with the basic mechanics of the game. The thing is that if you're a new player, you don't really know if you like the game or not. So why would you spend, upwards of like $100 on DLC? For my experienced players who may be getting back into the game, the DLC will present an immediate learning curve, but shouldn't cause you too much hassle. The basics. HOI4 has some pretty important basics that need to be covered before you're all shipped off to go play the game. Focuses. Focuses are the driving force behind Hearts of Iron 4. Every major nation, and any nation that you see in the Interesting Countries tab, has a unique focus tree. Each focus takes a certain amount of days to complete, usually 35 or 70 days. Taking focuses can be confusing at first, as many require certain prerequisites to continue down the tree, but the neat part is that much of the time, the prereqs are stated to you ahead of time. For example, if the Germans want to annexate Austria, they must have a certain amount of manpower within their army before being allowed to take the focus. I mean, focus trees might seem huge when you first look at them, but as you play the game and you get into it, you'll begin to understand them a little bit better, and they'll start to look from very complex to more so simple. Research. Research is not too dissimilar to the focus trees, but instead of being the driving force behind the progression of the game, they're the driving force behind the progression of the technological tree. There is a ton to research in Hearts of Iron 4. At times, it may seem a little overwhelming, but there is method to the research or tech tree's madness. The tech tree is soft locked behind years. As you progress down the tech tree, you'll find that certain techs are ahead of time, meaning they take longer to research and hamper your overall progression. The key to a good tech tree is balance, and ignoring the naval part of the tree. When you start hitting ahead of time, head over to a different section of the tree and research something else. For my new players, the main essentials of the tech tree is, in this order, electronic and industry, both are equally important, army, artillery, support, aviation, armor. Building and production. Building and production are pretty much the essential ways in which you set up your war machine. For building, there is, again, quite a bit to unpack, but the essentials that you might need are civilian factories and military factories. Civilian factories, or civs, are what are used to build things, so you build civs with more civs. Military factories, or mills, are the key to your production base. Military factories are built and then assigned to whatever production you might want. The most important things for a beginner to produce are guns, artillery, anti-air, anti-tank, and support equipment. The backbone of most armies will be infantry, and these 5 things are key to supplying them. Laws and government. Laws and government, found below your national focus and leader portrait, are another important part of this game. I'm really just going to focus on mobilization and conscription, as they're the 2 most important for a beginner. Mobilization of the economy is vital to your overall construction ability. Like focuses, there are certain prereqs that must be achieved in order to mobilize the economy. but that's not super important right now. What is important is knowing that getting to partial mobilization or war economy as fast as possible is the best way to ensure your production and construction don't lag behind. Civilian economy and early mobilization both have debuffs to the construction of civ and mill factories, which really hurts in the early game. In terms of conscription, this is the way you get manpower. The higher you go with conscription, the worse debuffs you'll receive to your production and training time. The ideal conscription is extensive, but don't be afraid to go higher if you have to. Manpower is vital to your war effort, and if you have none, you're gonna lose. War and the army. The majority of your wars will be fought with infantry divisions. There are exceptions to this rule, of course, but those will come into play as you get better at the game. For now, as a beginner, your main focus should be on making and supplying the best infantry division that you can. The best basic infantry you can make that will help you hold better against enemy force is as follows: 20 with infantry, with 10 infantry battalions, support artillery, support anti-air, engineer companies, and support anti-tank. These basic divisions can hold just about anything, even against an enemy with superiority in the air. The neat part is you still have one extra slot open for a different type of support company to experiment around with. Disclaimer: never use line artillery in infantry. You can use line anti-air and line anti-tank, but never line artillery. It's completely worthless. Doctrines. I'm not going to go into great detail about these, I just have to say, doctrines are a very important aspect of the army. Considering you're probably a new player, using mainly infantry, running superior firepower is your friend. It gives you the best buffs possible to your infantry divisions, making them more efficient. You also want to go down the indirect fire, the right side of the superior doctrine tree, not the left one. The right one is better. It's going to be better for you. Armor and air. Armor and air are important aspects of the game, obviously. They're huge. I mean, they're such a vital part to your war effort. But for your average beginner, can be at least a little confusing. You don't really have to worry about producing air that much. It does help. You know, tanks and air, they help you push easier into the enemy, but it's not that big of a deal when you're beginning. Your main focus should be having enough divisions to fill in the lines. However, if you find you have spare mills, assigning some to fighters or medium tanks or close air support may make holding and pushing the enemy a little bit easier. Supply. Supply can be a little confusing, but it's something you'll get the hang of as you play. Basically, just make sure your units don't have these little red boxes by their portrait. Low supply makes pushing and holding extremely difficult and increases losses. Front lines. Making a front line is key to being able to engage in a war in Hearts of Iron 4. In order to make a front line, you select the division you want. You do that by holding left click and dragging the box over them. Then, you click the little plus sign box in the bottom of the screen. Your divisions are now within an army. You don't want to just leave these divisions with a gray portrait, that's not any use to you. You want to give your army a general. In order to give that army a general, you click on the now gray box, click on the little empty portrait, and assign a general of your choice. Some generals are better than others, but you'll learn about that as you continue to play the game. Now to make a front line. You take your army, click on this button here, and then click on the border of the nation you'd like to invade. You can also make fallback lines by using this button and then dragging along the tiles you want to hold. These are good for if you don't want to hold the border with the enemy and have some other territory in mind. Usually you want to use fallback lines for advantageous terrain. Terrain is important, it's actually very important to holding, but, you know, just if you're holding, hold behind rivers and mountains. If you're attacking, attack from multiple directions, it helps minimize any sort of bonuses the enemy might have. You can also assign your armies to a field marshal order, which is essentially the same thing as an army, but bigger and a little bit easier to use if you have a vast front line. This is the most important of all the points in the video. To all the new players out there who may be watching, you're going to lose. You're going to lose against the AI a lot. Don't be disheartened by losing. It's okay. I have over 3,000 hours in this game, and I lose against the AI quite frequently. If you check out my video here, you'll see me lose against the AI. It happens, and it can be frustrating, but you can't let it get you down in the dumps, or you'll never progress and get better at this game. I know the video was not the most in-depth tutorial ever made about Hearts of Iron 4, but I just wanted to make something basic and easy to digest for the newer viewer. I hope it is at least. There are many better in-depth tutorials out there. This is just one I made for the new player who wants a bit of surface level knowledge before diving into the game. I hope you all found this video helpful, and if you enjoy, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And check me out on Twitch where I play HOI4 quite a bit. Thank you all for joining. Peace out.